What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. I hope you all had a great Christmas and want to thank you all for the birthday and Christmas messages over the last couple of days. Now, in this video, we're going to take a look at John Bercow's alternative Christmas message that has to be the most ridiculous one I have ever heard for a variety of reasons. Least of all, the fact the slimy toads at Channel 4 got him to do this message in the first place. His only legacy as Speaker will be that he literally did all he could to stop Brexit, openly going against parliamentary conventions to give the Remoaners like Hilary Benn and Dominic Grieve the means to stop or delay Brexit like they did in October. Before we got the general election, of course, that drained the swamp and brought us never-ending salt to mine from these anti-democratic fuckpigs, who, even after losing one referendum and 2 general elections, thinks the losers should still have a say in the Brexit negotiations. Now, I didn't watch this live because, quite frankly, I'd rather stick knitting needles in my own eyes than see this idiot on Christmas Day. So I left it until Boxing Day, but I was not disappointed. The Express have picked up on it also, talking about the rage felt by viewers at John Bercow's words on Brexit, Parliament and democracy. Or should we say, the lack of it in the last few months, no thanks to this snivelling shitweasel. So, let's check it out.
Lots of people think MPs have been behaving like children. I don't agree. As the bloke who chaired the House of Commons for 10 years, it's not an earth-shattering revelation to say I believe in it. I passionately support parliamentary democracy. For all the criticism and abuse lobbed at MPs, I'm still a cheerleader for them. The overwhelming majority work hard to protect and promote the interests of the people they are charged to represent.
Well, I have to call instant bullshit on his claim that the majority of MPs work hard to protect and promote the interests of the people. The last Parliament worked hard to do everything it could to stop what the people had voted for. I hardly call that working hard for the people, do you? They worked hard for themselves and for their EU masters. They did not serve the people at all, which is why we see so many of them drained from the swamp on December 12th. The electorate know they did all they can to stop Brexit, which was the democratic choice made by the British public in the largest vote for anything this country has ever seen. The Remoaners like Grieve, Anna Soubry and Joe Swinson did their best to stop Brexit and paid the price for it. The last Remoaner Parliament that Attorney General Geoffrey Cox rightly called a dead parliament with no moral right to sit on them green benches was a disgrace not only to this country but to democracy the world over. Countless nations must have stood there watching the shit show going on, thinking how can these elected politicians openly deny the will of the people, with the help of course of the mainstream media and the worthless spunk trumpets who work for them. So no, Bercow, they do not work for the people, they work for themselves, as we can all see, and like I said, with the help of the media. But let's move on to the next clip, he ain't finished there.
Churchill famously said that democracy was the worst form of government, except for all the others. The great parliamentarian Tony Benn put it another way. Whenever I meet anybody with power, I always ask that person 5 questions. What power have you got? Who gave it to you? In whose interest do you exercise it? To whom are you accountable? And how can we get rid of you?
So he quotes the so-called great parliamentarian Tony Benn, who, in case you didn't know, is the father of Remoaning fuckpig Hilary Benn, whose bill helped to delay Brexit, of course facilitated by John Bercow. If Tony Benn was the great parliamentarian Bercow claims, then I'm sure he would be disgusted with his son and this worthless shitweasel for their acts against democracy and the people. Not forgetting, of course, the shame they brought on the British Parliament, or should I say, more shame. It was hardly a beacon of light for the country before Brexit, if I am honest. But it certainly was not as bad as we have seen it in the last couple of years. The 5 questions Tony Benn was allegedly asked is rather funny, considering who we hear them from, since, given the questions quoted, it would seem Tony Benn, were he still alive, would have a really big problem with the way his son and most of the 2017 to 2019 Parliament have acted. So let's refresh your memory on those 5 questions. The first was, of course, what power have you got? Which, as we know, for an MP is the power to deliver what the people voted for and to uphold the democracy that got them elected. Obviously, they didn't do that in 2017 to 2019. Instead, they did the complete opposite and tried to ignore us. The second was, who gave you that power, which of course was obviously us, the electorate, that they have run around for the last few years calling stupid racist gammon who was too thick for their own good. Bercow is included in that since he was the Speaker of Remain throughout these last couple of years. But the third has to be the funniest one of all. In whose interest do you exercise that power? Which in the case of the last Parliament, it certainly wasn't the interests of the British people they exercised this power for. Bercow is once again included in that, and to be honest, is probably one of the main culprits. The fourth question you might remember said, to whom are you accountable? Which we all know they should be accountable to us. But the last Parliament had the delusional belief that they could do what they want and block the will of the people. Which also leads on to the final question, how do we get rid of them? Which we all know the answer to now. We get rid of them at the ballot box, as we just did, when we drained the swamp on December 12th. Now I'm not sure if you guys find it as funny as I do him repeating them questions, since if the last Parliament answered them, I'm sure Tony Benn would be ashamed like I said, providing of course he was the great parliamentarian he is claimed to be. Bercow clearly did not see the irony of him repeating those words because as we all know, he thinks he's better than everyone else, especially Brexiteers, and as the Speaker, was accountable to absolutely no one it would seem, much the same as he is now unfortunately.
I reckon Parliament does its job well, questioning the government, scrutinising it and holding it to account for its policies on everything from Brexit to buses. Yet of late, democracy has come in for a pounding. All around the world, populism and the promise of simple solutions to complex problems has taken hold with a vice-like grip. Don't get me wrong, it's crucial for everyone to be free to say what they think and for politicians to respond. But democracy shouldn't be about decibel levels. An opinion is no more valid because it is expressed more loudly, repeatedly, or abusively. Before you say anything, yes, I've been known to raise my voice, but that was just to keep order.
Oh, so according to him, democracy is coming for a pounding by populist movements. No, Bercunt, you dopey mug. Democracy came in for a pounding when you and the rest of the Ramona Parliament decided it was a good idea to ignore the democratic choice made by the people. Which is why many of Bercow's friends are no longer sitting in the House of Commons and are instead waiting for their P45 to arrive. But I really think this prat is taking the piss when he says democracy shouldn't be about decibel levels, when his side of the argument that has lost 3 times in 3 years is screaming from the rooftops because they just can't stop losing. I wonder what he thinks about the rabid Ramonas after the election who wished Boris Johnson a painful death. I'm sure most of you remember seeing the young girl who wanted to be an NHS doctor, wishing for an elected Prime Minister's painful death. Is that the screaming opinions he is talking about? Or is it Emily Thornberry calling us all stupid? Because it seems to me the ones screaming at the top of their lungs for the last 3 years are the ones who lost the argument and the vote. Regardless of what the Corbynated chicken might say, they lost the vote and the argument 3 times over. But let's move on and see what else he has to say for himself.
What bothers me is that there are people on the internet and in some newspapers who cannot entertain the idea that anyone can honourably hold an opinion which differs from their own. They are the angels, and anyone who dares disagree is a devil who wants the country to be poorer, less free, or less secure. That mindset started to infect Parliament too. That is wrong. If Democrats show no respect for each other, it just encourages anti-democrats. It's high time we learnt to disagree agreeably. My best friend is a Brexiteer. He's not an extremist, a racist, or a fascist. I am a Remainer. That doesn't make me a traitor, a malcontent, or an enemy of the people. My friend and I disagree, but we don't fall out. He thinks I'm wrong. I know he is. The point is we respect each other as patriots, wanting the best for our country and the world.
Is he having a fucking giraffe? there is people on the internet and in some newspapers who cannot entertain the idea that people have an opinion that differs to theirs. He must be talking about the rabid Ramonas who have run around telling us we're all thick racist gammon for voting to leave the EU. You know, the friends he helped stop Brexit in October. I'm not sure if he's trying to be funny or he actually thinks it's Brexiteers who are in the wrong for defending their democratic choice, because it would seem to me the only ones screaming opinions are his Ramonin friends that hold the opinion we should not leave the EU. The rest of us are not using opinion. The people voted for something that said we should leave. No opinion there, just facts. Nothing needs to be entertained because that's the reality of the situation, regardless of how much people piss and whine about it. But he is once again talking complete shit when he said that the mindset had started to affect Parliament. It was the parliamentarians like Hilary Benn, Dominic Grieve and Philip Hammond who started the trends we see now, where people think it's okay to openly deny the democratic choice made by this country, not only in the 2016 referendum, but also in the 2019 general election, when the Ramonin losers on Twitter started claiming Boris Johnson wasn't their Prime Minister, and said anyone who didn't vote Labour is a stupid racist pig who hates everyone, which is a bit rich considering Labour are only the second party in history to be investigated for racism, after none other than the BNP. Quite the accolade, though I'm sure, like winning the argument at the last election, not one they would want to continue into the future if they hope to ever get in government, which to be honest, I highly doubt they will do anytime soon, given their current course and crop of shitweasels who make up the party. But John Bercow, it's Ramonas and hard left loons who abuse you the second you disagree with their batshit crazy ideology. The end of that clip shows the type of snivelling shitweasel he is though. My friend the Brexiteer thinks I'm wrong, but I know he is. The entitlement of that statement. And no, Bercow, for your information, being a Remainer wouldn't make you a traitor. The actions aimed at blocking the will of the people and the elected government's attempts to deliver that mandate should be considered high treason, in my opinion. What else is going against the will of the people, who are the Queen's subjects, electors of the Queen's government? Surely these are actions both against Queen and country, so I would shut your mouth, mate, and consider yourself lucky it's not called treason in this day and age. It might well have been in a different era. But he also contradicts his previous statement there about ignoring the opinions of others because he claimed his opinion is just right, when of course we are talking about the future, so he could not possibly know he was right and a Brexiteer was wrong. I guess we got another Ramonin mystic Meg who can tell the future. What an idiot. Now let's check out the final clip.
Let's take inspiration from young people. They are the future. Let's try to re-establish a civility of discourse. It would be good for Parliament, for democracy, and for our own mental health, an issue which is finally getting the attention it needs. So this Christmas, I urge that political difference, personal courtesy, should become our guiding lights in 2020. In the Commons, in our workplaces, and in our homes.
I've actually cut out most of that clip because it was full of complete dribble no one cares about. But he says, let's take inspiration from young people. Does he mean people like these worthless fuck pigs?
He is a pig and I'm so ashamed that he's the Prime Minister of my country. It's disgusting and I wish him the worst. I wish him a horrible death. I don't know if you're allowed to put that online, but he's fucking everything up for people my age, our future. I plan to work in the NHS, I plan to be a doctor, I plan to actually care about people. Yeah, I wish him the worst. Go fuck yourself, Boris Johnson. Honestly, what a cunt. Sorry.
Yeah, let's take a leaf out of young people's book, you idiot. These soy boys and university girls you think are so great clearly don't subscribe to the shit you are preaching, do they? I hardly consider them to be role models in public discourse. If they are the future of this country, then we're fucked. Bunch of whiny, entitled brats screaming because they keep losing Democratic votes will not end well, especially when you factor in their batshit crazy ideologies they're all subscribed to. Hardly beacons of civility, are they? As for mental health, I think some Ramonas might need to have their mental health checked, given what we have just seen in that video of the anti-democratic protesters wishing death on the elected Prime Minister of this country. Based Amy gets put in prison for calling an MP a traitor, yet this girl can stand on the street wishing harm on the Prime Minister. perhaps the legal system needs its mental health checked also, because I'm pretty sure wishing death on someone is worse than calling someone a traitor, though neither should be illegal, as people have the right to say what they want, providing of course they're not threatening people with harm. Even the stupid girl has the right to say what she wants, even if it's a disgusting thing to say. But if the law wants to be equal, she should be doing a bird for her words like based Amy has been forced to. Bercow is so far out of touch though, it's absolutely incredible. The entitlement of this prick is real. And also, let's not forget, him doing the message goes to show just how biased Channel 4 is to the Remain side of the argument, which, as I've said many times, lost. It's a complete joke, just like the snivelling shitweasel and biased slime that is John Bercow. But on that note, guys, I am going to end the video there. I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I'll see you all in the next one.
And Corbyn neutral by Christmas.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.
Ramon! Ramon!